In a rapidly changing geopolitical environment where power balances are shifting and regional tensions are growing, the Indo-Pacific has become the centerpiece of international focus. This vast maritime region, home to over half the world's population and some of the most strategic shipping lanes, is now also the arena for a major trilateral military show of unity. The United States, Japan, and South Korea have come together in a bold and unmistakable display of solidarity and deterrence. Their joint air exercise, meticulously planned and precisely executed, is more than a mere show of force. It is a message to both allies and adversaries that security in the Indo-Pacific will not be left to chance. For decades, each of these nations has maintained strong air capabilities. The U.S. Air Force, with its global reach and technological superiority, has long been a stabilizing presence in Asia. Japan, after decades of a strictly defensive military posture, has steadily built one of the most sophisticated air defense systems in the world. South Korea, always on the front line of tension on the Korean peninsula, has developed a robust and agile air force capable of quick response and precision strike. But what happens when these three nations align their forces, share their intelligence, and fly their aircraft side by side under one coordinated mission? The answer became clear during this high-profile joint air exercise. It was not simply a military drill, it was a powerful symbol of integrated strength. The joint operation involved dozens of aircraft, from cutting-edge fifth-generation stealth fighters to advanced surveillance and refueling platforms. F-35s from the US and Japan flew in formation with South Korean F-15Ks and American F-22 Raptors. AWACS early warning aircraft hovered above, feeding real-time intelligence into a shared command system. Refueling tankers kept the fighters airborne longer, extending the operational range of the entire fleet. All of this activity was carefully choreographed in airspace that has become increasingly contested in recent years. As these jets roared through the skies, what they represented was far more significant than hardware or tactics. It was trust, coordination, and a shared commitment to preserving peace through preparedness. The exercise came at a time of heightened concerns. North Korea's missile launches have become more frequent and more provocative. China's assertive posture in the South China Sea and its incursions into Taiwanese and Japanese air defense zones have raised serious alarm. And Russia, increasingly active in the Pacific alongside China, adds another layer of unpredictability. In this context, the trilateral air exercise wasn't just a training event. It was a calculated, strategic signal. Each mission flown during the exercise simulated real-world scenarios, intercepting hostile aircraft, defending maritime routes, engaging in joint reconnaissance, and neutralizing incoming missile threats. These are not hypothetical situations, they reflect actual risks in the region. In the event of a conflict in Taiwan or an escalation on the Korean peninsula, these three nations would likely be called upon to act in unison. The joint drills, aimed to iron out the complexities that arise when combining different command structures, communications protocols, and tactical doctrines. It's one thing to talk about alliance cooperation, it's another thing entirely to fly side by side in combat readiness. The historical backdrop to this cooperation is important. Japan and South Korea, despite being close geographically and both allies of the United States, have had a fraught relationship marked by deep historical grievances. For years, defense cooperation between Tokyo and Seoul was hampered by political mistrust and unresolved wartime issues. However, the growing common threads have begun to shift perspectives. Under U.S. mediation and with shared concerns about regional security, the two nations have taken steps toward defense normalization. This exercise marked one of the most significant public manifestations of that shift. It showed the world and each other that when it comes to regional security, cooperation can overcome history. The U.S. played a crucial facilitating role in this triangle of power. From a strategic standpoint, Washington knows that the key to deterring adversaries in Asia is not only having superior military power, but also ensuring its allies are interconnected, interoperable, and ready. Pentagon officials have long emphasized the concept of integrated deterrence, and this exercise put that concept into action. Rather than the U.S. acting unilaterally or merely coordinating bilaterally with Tokyo or Seoul, the new model emphasizes trilateral cohesion. The exercise was as much about strategy as it was about message discipline. Each takeoff and maneuver told a story of readiness, of alliance credibility, of collective strength. Pilots from all three nations spoke of the experience as more than just technical collaboration. They talked about camaraderie, about learning from one another, and about the sense of shared purpose. The airmen, some of whom had never previously flown with their regional counterparts, described the sense of unity that emerged over the course of the drills. Cultural differences faded as the mission took priority. Trust was built not just in mission briefings, but in the silence between radio transmissions at 30,000 feet. Each refueling, each simulated intercept, each joint landing built a deeper sense of operational cohesion. The exercise also included joint command centers, where officers from all three nations operated side by side. Real-time data sharing allowed for instantaneous decisions on mock engagements, tracking incoming threats, and coordinating multilateral responses. These command centers are crucial. In any real crisis, decisions must be made in seconds. The ability to operate seamlessly across languages, systems, and chains of command can be the difference between strategic success and costly failure. The exercise tested and refined these capabilities under simulated high-pressure conditions. It was, in effect, a rehearsal for regional crisis management. Satellite imagery from the exercise revealed an extensive operational footprint. Fighter squadrons operated from multiple bases across Japan and South Korea, with U.S. aircraft rotating in from Guam and Okinawa. Naval vessels monitored the drills from nearby waters, ready to support in case of simulated naval threats. Ground-based radar and missile defense systems were activated and synchronized with airborne assets. The scale of the operation underscored how seriously the three nations are taking the need for coordinated defense readiness. Beyond the tactical level, the exercise was also a diplomatic event. Defense ministers and senior military commanders from the three nations made appearances, emphasizing unity and commitment. Joint press conferences sent a coordinated message to regional powers. The Indo-Pacific is not an open playground for aggression. The era of fragmented responses and uncoordinated messaging is over. The exercise marked a turn toward a more structured, more determined, trilateral security architecture. In response, observers noted that China's People's Liberation Army, Air Force PLAAF, increased its own operations during the same timeframe, launching surveillance flights and conducting drills closer to Taiwan and the East China Sea. North Korea, predictably, issued a series of statements condemning the exercise and warning of grave consequences. But the planners of the exercise had anticipated such reactions. This wasn't an exercise designed to provoke, was designed to deter, by showing that aggression would be met, not by one nation alone, but by a united front. The drill aimed to reduce the likelihood of miscalculation by potential adversaries. Back home, the exercise drew different reactions. In South Korea, it was seen as a reaffirmation of the country's place in the broader regional defense framework. In Japan, where debates over constitutional pacifism continue, it was another step toward a more assertive defense role. In the United States, it was a validation of Indo-Pacific strategy and a concrete example of alliance building in action. Across all three nations, there was a growing recognition that the world has changed and that so too must defense postures. Technology played a central role throughout the exercise. Advanced AI-powered targeting systems, secure communication links, and electronic warfare capabilities were all tested. Cybersecurity teams monitored digital threats, simulating what a hybrid warfare attack might look like. In a future conflict, it will not just be bombs and bullets that matter, it will be data integrity, communication, security, and decision-making speed. This joint exercise was designed with all of that in mind. It was a full-spectrum readiness operation. The timing of the exercise was no coincidence. It came amid growing uncertainty over the future of Taiwan, intensifying disputes in the South China Sea, and global instability resulting from the war in Ukraine. The United States has repeatedly emphasized the importance of the Indo to its national security, and the commitment to regional allies is central to that approach. Japan, increasingly threatened by Chinese and North Korean activity, is rethinking decades-old defense limits. South Korea, sandwiched between great powers and facing a nuclear-armed neighbor, has no choice but to prepare for every possibility. In this context, the trilateral exercise was a convergence of necessity, opportunity, and strategy.